You know, when you apply for a job or go through the new hire enrollment process and you give out a lot of very personal information, what happens to that data? Well, the answer may surprise you and not in a good way. Stick around and I'll tell you more. If you look for a job online in the last 20 years, or you've worked for a company in that same period of time, it's likely that a lot of entities have access to a lot of very personal information about you, including but not limited to your legal name, your social security number, all of your addresses, and your salary data. And of course, we want to believe that these companies have our best interest in mind and that they're not doing anything sinister with it. But what if I was to tell you that your company is likely giving your data to Equifax, who is then selling it to data brokers? Yeah, you heard that correctly. And in this video, I want to break down exactly what they do with that data and what you can do about it. And to that end, I'd like to thank this video sponsor, DeleteMe. Now, admittedly, this is a little bit of an older article on Fast Company dated back to November of 2017. But sure enough, Facebook, which is now known as Meta, and America's largest companies are quietly and secretly giving away worker data to Equifax. And this was at a time when Equifax had some serious data breaches, if you recall. And of course, Facebook has had their own privacy issues. In fact, they're on probation until 2031 for selling data and deceiving customers about how they use their private information. But not only is Meta selling the data of their users, they're also routinely sharing sensitive employment data of its US-based employees with the Work Number database, which is owned by Equifax Solutions. Yes, that Equifax, the one that does the credit checks. And that database holds extensive personal information about employees, including their date of birth, their social security, their job, their title, their salary, their pay raises, increases, tenures, even numbers of hours worked, wages by pay period, health insurance coverage, dental insurance, and then unemployment claims records. Literally, they know everything about you. When you think about it, if you try to go get a loan or you apply for an apartment, they will run your background as well. And this site is one of the approved entities with permissible purpose, which allows companies to purchase your employment income information for about 20 bucks. So basically, they can sell off all of your payroll data for $20. And this isn't just Meta Facebook, it's also Amazon, Oracle, Microsoft, AT&T, Walmart, Harvard Law School, and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And get this, on a weekly basis, this database currently receives payroll data of approximately 1/3 of the working population in the United States. That is absolutely staggering. Keep in mind that 75% of Fortune 500 companies, 85% of federal agencies, that includes state governments, courts, colleges, and thousands of small businesses, they all feed into this database. And the crazy thing is that companies actually pay Equifax to collect, organize, and then resell their employee data for profit. And the same companies use this data against employees to help process and fight workers' comp claims, but then also verification of employment history, work history, income, etc. And it's even provided to third-party debt collectors, mortgage lenders, credit card companies, landlords, auto financing companies, student loan processors, and government officials. It's remarkable the size and the scope of what they collect. Now, of course, they say that they don't use this for any sinister purpose, but there are people who are receiving debt collection calls as a result of this employment data being shared, because traditionally employers, landlords, anybody who was checking your credit would have to call a courthouse. They would have to go call each individual employer and try to get that data. But instead, they can go onto this workforce number and they can basically pay a few bucks to get access to all of your employment records. Some people say, well, Equifax is a big reputable company. Surely they won't sell your data. Surely there's no issue there. The problem is there actually has been some issues. In 2017, Equifax had a massive data breach where a lot of those records were actually stolen. So at this point, who knows who has your data and what they're doing with it? And that's a pretty scary thought. And you can go check out the Work Number yourself. It's worknumber.com, and you can see exactly what it is that they store. And as you can see, it's income and employment verification, a work ID, education verification, property verification, social security verification services, and IRS fulfillment services. So basically, Equifax knows every possible aspect of your life, whether you like it or not. In addition to that, they currently store more than 657 million data records on income and employment, and 144 million verification requests on behalf of consumers in 2023 alone. And 3 million employers across a variety of industries are providing them this data. So the interesting thing is if we go and we look at their privacy policy, and they say, of course, discretion and stewardship and all that sort of thing. But let's just scroll down and see what their privacy policy is. It says, we may use, process, or disclose personal data we collect for one or more of the following business purposes: product development, personalization, marketing offers. So in other words, they are selling your information to affiliated and non-affiliated entities, including promotional communications companies, targeted advertising, and presenting what they feel are relevant offers to you. Now, if you've used Facebook, you know that if you talk about something in the privacy of your own home with your spouse or somebody, certain enough, you're going to start seeing ads on your phone instantaneously. And that's what they're doing. They're selling that data to brokers who then use that data to market to you. And the categories of third parties that they may share your personal data with. And again, keep in mind, this is all of your salary information, your social security, any paychecks you've had, any health insurance that you've carried, anything you've been dropped from, any unemployment claims that you've had. All of this stuff is stored there, and they're selling it to advertising networks, consumer credit card customers, consumer data resellers. So in other words, they'll sell your information to a data broker who will then sell it to other data brokers to make a profit off of it. Credit and collection agencies, data analytics providers, data brokers, employers, financial institution, fraud detection, internet services, government agencies, social networks. That one's kind of scary. And operating systems and platforms. So in other words, they're collecting and reselling your data for their profit. Now, they also give you the option of being able to go in and see what data they have on you yourself, but you have to have an employer number or ID number in order to get it. And if you think that that's without risk, there's also another gaping hole back in 2017 with this service where the online consumer portal was also breached, and people were able to view a person's salary and employment history by using little more than somebody's social security number and date of birth, both of which were stolen during the data breach at Equifax. So basically, this data is wide open and for anybody to see. And that's why I was really excited to partner with DeleteMe, because now I'm sitting here freaking out about all this information that I've sent out myself. And I started thinking, like, gosh, there has to be a better way. I mean, if I have to go into Equifax, I'm self-employed. I can't even provide an employee number. But trying to get into there, clearing out that data is an absolute nightmare. And the service DeleteMe makes it quick and easy and safe to remove your personal data online. All these brokers who have bought your information, and it's all across the World Wide Web, basically they'll go off and they'll troll the web and see where your data is actually showing up. And if you keep the service running in the background, it's always looking for your data showing up in different places and then going out and helping you remove it. The numbers I haven't showed you are shocking enough. Think about all the other places that you've put your data in. If you sign up for any app or any service, there's going to be that privacy policy that you're going to just probably click the button without even reading. Anytime you go and get a consumer loan or anything, all of your data is being brokered and marketed to data brokers and other sinister agents. So I created my own report, not really expecting a whole lot. It took about a week for it to troll across the internet and then start to collect where my name and my contact information and my private information was showing up. And then it spits back a report. And so I'm going to go and take a look at it with you. So here's the results of it scanning me. It went through 122 data brokers and looked at 1,707 different data listings. And shockingly, it has found 62 brokers that own my data. So 62 different brokers have actually purchased my data. Let's see what else I can find out about it. Let's click on reports and let's view report and see what is. I'm almost scared to look at this. Okay, so let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so total listings removed. Total listings reviewed is 1,707. Total listings removed 146. 62 brokers had my personal information and 409 total instances found. So let's see. It's removing quite a bit. So here's all the different companies that owned my data before this, and I don't recognize any of these. But if you start getting all those random robocalls, like the robot calls, this is where it's coming from. They're buying your data and it's getting into these sinister agents are buying all this information and they're putting you into these robocalls. And if you can't get them to stop, it's like whack-a-mole. You get one, but then they keep on selling it to other people. So you want to keep this thing running in the background at all times. You know, this is like some scary stuff here. You know, Spokio, I think I've heard of them, but most of these I have not heard of at all. Fortunately, and you can see they're now a lot of these have been cleansed, so they're in the process of actively cleansing in the background right now and being removed from all these databases. So that's the good news. And gosh, this is a long report. If you want to get started scrubbing your information off the World Wide Web as well, you can use the code LAYOFF to get a 20% discount. And of course, I'll leave a link in the comments below. And when we look at the broader implications of this data collection, the reality is that employers do not have a firm grasp on their security measures. In fact, according to a survey done by Accenture in 2019, a majority of business leaders said they are not highly confident that they can collect and analyze employee data in a responsible way. This is the majority of senior leaders at these major corporations. And just about half of these business leaders say that they will use workforce data as they see fit with no additional responsibility or security measures. And to take that a step further, only 32% of employees said that they have consented to the employer's use of their workforce data. And 56% of business leaders say their companies do not even ask for this consent. And in Japan, an employment service called Recruit Center is actively selling job seeker data without consent. So this is happening globally. It's not just in the United States. It's not all gloom and doom, because the good news is that there are more and more states starting to join the fray of passing more legislation that will help the employee keep their data secure. For example, in California, there's the California Consumer Privacy Act, which is moving to help with data privacy laws, and that would affect consumers and employees. And more states are starting to look more seriously at this. They are starting to crack down more on data integrity. But Glassdoor even admits that until recently, employers had a lot of latitude on how they could use, share, and even market your private information. And due to heightened media attention and some of these laws, employers are starting to become increasingly restricted in what they can do. So that's the good news for the employee. But nonetheless, you got to be very mindful of how your data is being used. And of course, we always have to be ever vigilant about the rise in fake job listings, which might actually mean scammers are trying to steal your application data, because the FBI has warned that there are cyber criminals, as we all know, that are scamming poor job seekers with fake job listings, and they're trying to gather things like social security numbers and other descriptors that they can use to steal your identity or to get you to send them money in the hopes of getting a job. And of course, I want to reiterate, never send your social security number, your date of birth, or anything to an employer until you're absolutely sure that they're onboarding you. It's a legitimate company and you're going through their pre-employment process, because that will be required for government reporting. And of course, never send them any money to purchase things like office supplies or an advance on your payroll or some other scammy sounding thing. You should never even pay a recruiter to place you. The only thing that you should be paying for is maybe a LinkedIn premium subscription or something along those lines. But in every other case, you should not be paying to have the privilege of applying for or getting a job. So as you can see, data security is a real serious problem, and one that you should be very aware of as you go through your employment journey. And it's always worth making sure that you're staying on top of where your information is being stored, because you never know. Avoid any of those fishy looking websites and stick to reputable employers only. And if you need more help in your job search, that's something that I specialize in. I've got a website called lifeafterlayoff.com. It's loaded with tips and tricks, all from a recruiting insider's perspective. I offer some training courses that will help you get back on your feet, including how to write a resume, how to navigate through a corporate hiring process, interviewing skills, etc., and then how to use LinkedIn to targeted network and improve your chances of getting callbacks. So make sure you check those out if you think you need more help there. But I thought this was a very important topic, and one that needs to be discussed so that we can keep on top of our employment data and stay secure. So be safe out there. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you in the next one.